we have to talk about the house. We have to talk about Ariana's house, because there are a lot of misconceptions out there. So I want to clear some stuff out that I've seen a lot of people misunderstand in terms of these situations. Obviously, I'm not privy to like everything that's going on in this case, but there are a lot of things that I now realize are not part of common knowledge in these kinds of disputes.
Why don't you explain this to me like I'm 5?
Maybe honestly, when he got an actual look at what it will take to buy me out from the house, he realized that financially he just can't do it, which I could have also told you from day one. It's just like, being right is hard sometimes, especially when it's always the case.
And I'm just coming from having been a loan officer, which I'm not anymore. I'm not licensed anymore. This is not loan officer advice, but just having the experience plus everything that has kind of leaked in the media and everything that they've said on and off the show, like directly, both Sandoval and Ariana. Like I want to kind of bring all that into perspective, right? Because I've seen a lot of people just being maybe confused, or maybe just what I think unreasonably upset with the wrong party, maybe. And in their explanation, I can see like a lot of misconceptions that the general public may have. But I do want to come from like, these are facts. These are facts that we have. And then it's also like, these are the speculations that we can make. And this is why it's such a complex issue, because there are a lot of moving parts that we may not be considering, or we may not be considering in the right light.
Yeah.
Because it is very, very complex. And even though I'm using like facts, like I'm using whatever has been stated and speculating based on that, right? So there are a lot of things that could be going on behind closed doors. And I definitely want to come from like a place of calm, because I think whether you are on whatever side you are of the issue, it is like a very emotional issue, because we feel like someone's doing something wrong, or someone is not being treated fairly, or whatever. So I think it can be like a very emotionally loaded topic. Mm-hmm. So first thing first, everything that's going on with the house is between Ariana, her lawyer, and the state of California. Like that's it. And a lot of things that may not make sense to us, they're making sense to the lawyer who's following the state law. And I can speak based on like what I've seen happen in like divorce decrees, or just the way that mortgages are built. But I didn't practice in the state of California, so there may be other things that California does that Texas doesn't, right? Yeah. And with that, I've seen a lot of people say, I can't believe she's not paying. I believe that she stopped payment for somewhere around 4 to 8 months. There's some people that reported it being 8 months. Whenever the footage came out, it had been only like 4 months from the affair breaking out. And I think Ariana stated that that's kind of where she decided not to pay. So it could be anywhere between 4 and 8 months. People don't believe that a lawyer would advise that. That's really like up to the lawyer, and she just has to do whatever the lawyer says. Like that's her best, and she's a smart woman. I don't think that she would go against her own self-interest and whatever her lawyer is saying.
Yeah, she's obviously doing it for a reason and being advised by a professional. So like there are so many reasons why it's plausible that is in her best interest to stop payment unless XYZ.
Yeah.
Or yeah.
Well, and I definitely want to go into that further, but in terms of like whatever her lawyer advised, yeah, some people can say like it's very petty and it's wrong. First of all,
it's about a house and a lot of money. This is not just like who's gonna take
absolutely. But even even if you're thinking like, oh, she's not paying because she's being petty, the way Sandoval wants to paint it out, it would be way pettier on her side to follow her lawyer's advice and end up getting what she deserves under the law than to just be petty for petty's sake. So it doesn't really make a lot of sense that she's not paying because she's petty. I absolutely do believe that she's following the law and what her lawyer is advising her to do. Second of all, and I think this is where my knowledge may come in, or maybe people just are not as aware that what they have is a HELOC. So it's a home equity line of credit. It's different from a mortgage. It's different from a loan, a home equity loan, which is more like a second mortgage. The HELOC, the line of credit, is almost like it's almost like a credit card that you get on the equity of the home. So if you have a mortgage on half the home, which means that you've already paid or you have equity on the other half of the home, that line of credit applies to the part of the home that you've already paid. So let's say that you've paid $50 on that home. The line of credit is going to say, okay, you have up to $50 as a credit, but you're not getting the $50 in a lump sum. You just have up to that much to borrow. And you're borrowing based on how much you need it. You can withdraw like a few dollars at a time. And if you have a business, yeah, you have up to that amount, but you don't want to withdraw up to that amount because you're going to have to pay interest on whatever you borrow, right? So it's a little bit of a safety net, just like a credit card. You would just pay what you borrow, but you have that much amount leeway. So part of that is a lot of people criticize that she signed the HELOC, which she did. She had to approve the HELOC before anything happened because that HELOC is on the home that they already paid for, right? The part of the home that they paid for. So yeah, she had to absolutely approve it and sign for it, and she's legally bound to pay whatever interest. But that payment changes month to month. It's not going to be a fixed amount. That amount is going to change based on how much he's borrowing, and he's borrowing it for the business, which she's not privy to. So whatever that HELOC amount is going to be, it's going to change based on how much he's withdrawing and how much he's paying back at a time. If you don't pay anything back, you're going to have interest on everything you've borrowed plus the lump sum of what you borrowed. But if you're paying it back as it's continuing, like you would a credit card, if you're making minimum payments towards the principal, then the interest would change as well, because now you owe a little bit less, then you owe a little bit more. So that's part of the criticism that doesn't make sense towards her, is like, oh, you should know how much the monthly payment is. The monthly payment on the HELOC changes. So it's not something that she necessarily would know. We don't know how they've decided to handle the HELOC with the bar, because yes, she's liable for that amount. And if that HELOC isn't paid back, the bank is absolutely going to take the home. That belongs to both of them. But I'm sure that she did not agree to pay for the HELOC, because then she would be paying for the bar. And why would she pay for the bar if she has no stake in the bar? The house is just collateral, but I'm sure they agreed that Tom was fully responsible for the fee on the HELOC.
Yeah.
Right? Because otherwise, why would you put any... Otherwise, I fully believe that she would have stake in that bar if she's paying the debt towards the bar.
Yeah.
Right? So that's part of my speculation too, is like, I'm sure they have some kind of measure or some kind of agreement, whether legal or on their own, that says that ultimately he's responsible for that HELOC. The house is collateral, but he should be the one paying for the line of credit, because that's fully for the bar. And I'm sure they kind of decided that way. And yeah, if they don't pay, yeah, they're coming for the house no matter who decided what, because that's the collateral. The third part is I don't know if people are saying like, oh yeah, she's walking away. She should just walk away from the home, right? She should be done with the fight, and she
I
should just
wouldn't
walk away.
walk away from such a huge purchase. What?
Right, right. So I looked it up, and originally they bought it for a little bit over $2 million, like 2,000,000 75,000 or something like that. They bought it for $2 million, and at its peak, it appraised to 3 million. Now people are speculating that if they
50%.
sold it today, it would sell for 2,800,000. So that's like more than half a million appraised.
Yeah.
Right, almost $1 million appraised on that home. And so I don't believe that anyone would walk away from something that big.
You would be walking away from $400,000.
No, plus everything is already
If it's like
paid.
800, no, because if it's, I'm coming from the point of view where like Tom's solution is to sell it now to him, and he would pay basically what they paid for at the beginning. And it's like without taking into accountability like the huge inflation. And so basically, if you're walking away with that deal from the past, then you're walking away from $400,000. Each one would be, because it's
I don't believe that he could even get $2 million, because the loans that he has been able to get is because he has the collateral of the home, right? And he couldn't even get an additional loan for the bar. He had to go to his mother to borrow against her retirement. So that tells you how much borrowing power Tom has.
That's true.
Right? Because he couldn't get he had to get a HELOC, and then he had to get, so what kind of loan is he thinking he can get to buy her out, short of selling his stakes on the bars, which I don't know if they're worth that much, but short of just selling his stakes on his bars, I don't know what else. And that's the thing, if he sells his stakes on this bar, it's not like he can get a loan based on the bar, because the bar is being funded by loans itself. So you're not going to be getting a loan on something that you're already having a loan on. So I hadn't heard that he wants to buy her out based on the purchasing price, but yeah, that's absolutely ridiculous. If the home is worth $1 million more now, why would you settle for however much? But even then, I don't believe that he has any borrowing power whatsoever. None at all. He doesn't have any assets. All of his assets are tied to the home that's already mortgaged, and has a second mortgage with that line of credit. And he has a loan on his mother's retirement because he couldn't get additional loan on his own. How, unless he's gonna be bought out of the bars multiple, because it's Lisa and Tom and Sandy's. Short of that, I don't really think he has any funds to buy her out.
Yeah, because it's not like he's making great money from that band. He's paying like 10 people to hang out with him. That's
right. I mean,
wasteful.
All of those loans he has too, they have interest. So it's not just the money that he borrowed, it's all the interests that are gonna be accumulated.
That stresses me out to think about, dude.
And that's the thing,
I don't like him, and it still stresses me out to think how that's a lot.
Ariana made a lot of money out of this scandal, and good for her. I'm not gonna go into that. That's her job, and she stated it before. That's her job. But the reason I bring it up is he didn't make nearly as much out of this. If anything, I would argue that he lost, maybe.
I don't know.
In terms of like,
actually did make, but that is arguable. That's arguable.
Well, no, in terms of like earning power, I think in the long run, it's gonna bite him more than the little profit that he could have made now, right? Because
in the long run,
yeah,
he might have made money now.
he made a little bit of money, but over time, I don't think his brand got any better, right? For him to have a higher earning power, as opposed to Ariana, who has a full portfolio.
Yeah, well, we'll see where the chips fall, because this season is very obviously supposed to be his redemption arc, which obviously is not working for me, but I don't know if it's working for other people. It's like I have a feeling the whole season is going to be a campaign to humanize both Toms, which is making me think about, but I don't know what's going to happen to his brand. Maybe they'll succeed and rescue it.
I mean, yes, maybe, but yeah, in terms of Bravo, maybe they do redeem him and whatever, but I meant, or in contrast, Ariana now has Bravo, and she has Broadway, and she has live television. So even and commercials, even not counting the actual money that she made, her earning potential, because she has a diversified portfolio. That's what I meant with like earning power. Whereas like, who watched Special Forces? Who gave Tom any sort of like commercial deals? How is his podcast doing? Because that's a large investment and I don't think it's paying off, but maybe it is. But I'm just saying, like, I don't know if he can count any additional income other than Vanderpump. And what I'm coming to say is he couldn't pay for the house and the bars on his Vanderpump income. He's not going to be able to pay the loans, the bars, the house, and pay Ariana back based income.
Pay his band.
His income wasn't good enough to not get a loan, which I'm not demonizing loans. That's what they're for. But I mean, I'm demonizing loans a little bit in other aspects, but not here. Not here. I'm not demonizing loans. But in terms of where are you going to get the money? Because we've already established, I don't think his borrowing power is there. And if his earning power wasn't there when he bought the bar or when he had to take out a loan on the retirement, then his earning power is not there to additionally take on all the interest that he's accumulated plus paying Ariana back. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So yeah, his earning power is just not there. His borrowing power is just not there.
I think he's just like
arguably or allegedly, obviously, but in terms of what it looks like from like a viewer's perspective.
Yeah, with that offer, I think he's obviously trying to save face because he desperately, even though there would be nothing wrong with it, but in his perspective and for what he values, I bet is like dreading going back to an apartment or something, God forbid. And it's like, that would be much more dignified of you, actually. You would be, but that's like not what he values. He wants to have a fucking pool. He wants to have at least the same amount as, imagine James just got a house and he had to go back to an apartment. It's that ego. And it's like,
what if he asked James to be his roomie? What if James and Ali broke up and they became roomies after all these years?
I would never. Again.
That'd be a fun twist. Fun Vanderpump twist. Okay, so
maybe if Jax like not broke up with Brittany, but like got maybe kicked out for a couple months. I don't know. Something happened. And he had to move in with James and Jax.
Oh yeah, I was like, Jax would never move in with Tom. God. But yeah,
James and Jax take WeHo. Dude, that would be so good.
You're funny. So from a professional perspective, aside from the ego, Tom does not want to lose that home because that's his entire borrowing power. He would have to pay back the mortgage and the HELOC before taking any profit back. And without the home, he wouldn't have the line of credit anymore. So it's like losing your one credit card. So how is he going to fund the bar if he's relying on that line of credit? That is, the house is imperative for his business to succeed right now, because that's where the money's coming from for the bar. So it's not even an ego thing. I do think that his whole business scheme would fall apart.
Oh, yeah.
And that is
House of Cards.
Legally why he's holding on to it so hard. That's what I'm thinking. Because how is he going to fund the bar? That's why he took the line of credit. And as soon as right now, the HELOC, you have a time period to borrow. So let's say like 5-10 years. You have 5-10 years to borrow, and you borrow up to the amount or less. And after those 5-10 years are done, then all your money is due. And you have another 10-20 years to pay all the money back with the interest. But right now he's still in that borrowing stage. If he gets rid of if he sells the home, that borrowing period ends and he has to start making payments on the loan. And he would have to cure that with the proceeds of the home, and maybe still owe more.
Probably.
Maybe still owe additional. It really depends on how much they have tied with the mortgage, with the HELOC. And they may be able to have him pay because they're both on the title, they both had to sign the mortgage, they both had to sign the HELOC, but because he's paying the bar with the HELOC, he may be liable to pay a larger amount of the HELOC than Ariana.
Yeah.
Percentage-wise. It really depends on how it lands on the law, because she did sign that HELOC. It really is dependent on how the legal proceedings go. And you know that he's gonna try to make her pay for at least half of that.
That is
why wouldn't you? Like, that's like that is for your interest. He clearly doesn't care about her interest.
In response to Ariana's petition to partition the home, Sandoval has disclosed that the lien that he has on the home, that HELOC, amounts to $90,000. And he also petitions that the lien be paid out before the equity of the home be divided, which means that Ariana's part of the equity would go into paying that HELOC. His audacity knows no bounds. I will be linking the court documents in the descriptions below.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's how you know that Ariana at one point, because she's a smart girl, relatively speaking, like, that's how you know she trusted him so much.
That's why I think, I don't know what kind of contract they would have had to have in order for her to be not less liable, but also, if I'm responsible for this much of your loan, then I should be getting this much of your business type of contract. So I very much doubt they have a contract, but they definitely have an argument for her to walk away with less liability of that, against speculation of how I've seen things turn out. But and I don't know if I'm making sense or just rambling, but
no, you are.
I can't think of the word. Okay, let's talk about the possible misappropriation of funds.
Okay.
So I want to focus on what she said, what he said, and then speculate on what I believe is happening or could be happening, right? So she said, one, I'm consulting a lawyer, right? And she said that episode 1, which was it was filmed 4 months after the 10th reunion, right? Actually, it was filmed 4 months after Sandoval after she found out. So within those 4 months, she's already talking to a lawyer, right? So point number one, she's talking to a lawyer. Point number two, she's saying she's not paying for anything, or she's not paying. I don't know if she's not paying for anything, but she's saying she's not paying until there's some forensic accounting happening.
Yeah.
That's just what she's saying. He's saying that she's not paying for anything and that he doesn't work for AT&T and Spectrum. And by saying that, I know that he means that she doesn't want to pay for AT&T and Spectrum.
Yeah.
They also, I believe maybe both mention, or just one of them mention, list all the things that they were paying together. And part of that was just the home upkeep, the pool, the cleaning, the internet, water, gas, all those things. Things that are not the mortgage or the HELOC.
Yeah.
Right? And maybe she's not paying for the mortgage or the HELOC either, but those things are listed. Of the things they're saying, they're listing other services other than the home price itself.
Yeah.
Right? Because we can stop paying for internet and cleaning and still have a home.
Yeah.
That's something that we can all do. Right? But they both acknowledge that part of that not paying is the Spectrum, the internet. He says Spectrum at AT&T, so I'm guessing they were maybe having a phone plan.
I don't know.
Or 2 internet plans. I don't know. But they mention those bills that are not necessarily tied to the home or being homeless, right? Because we can live without certain services.
The pool cleaning, that is
right. No, I'm saying, and I'm maybe misquoting, but I know that like for sure cleaning, Spectrum, and AT&T.
No, I'm pretty sure they said pool cleaning.
They said something about the upkeep, and I know they have a pool, so maybe I'm imagining pool cleaning, but I'm pretty sure they meant, or maybe lawn payments is what they said.
That is equally obnoxious. It's like, what? I couldn't pay my chef this week. It's like, fuck off.
It's also like they do mention that she's not paying for cleaning several times, especially after his party. But historically, even in previous episodes and previous seasons, they've said that he's the messy one. He's the one that needs cleaning after the parties, and that he doesn't help her with the cleaning. So why would she be paying a cleaning service, right?
Yeah. And
they're 2 grown adults that have jobs outside the home and also travel a lot for work. So I can't even imagine needing cleaning service. I live in my home 24/7 and I don't have a cleaning service, nor can I afford one. But you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't make so much of a mess that I can't manage it myself.
Yeah.
And I'm here all the time.
Well, that's the same. That's what I'm saying. Same thing as pool cleaners. Like, okay, let's say you still want to use your pool, even though you're cutting back and you're so like, aching for money so bad right now. Like, okay, let's say you still want to have a functioning pool. People clean their own pools too, and it's like,
oh yeah,
work. Like even Jax, he loves mowing his lawn. That's his thing. Just mow your lawn. Like,
he's the Hank of the Hill of the Valley.
Hank of the Hill of the Valley. Oh my God, yeah. And Brittany's the Peggy.
Can you imagine? No, Brittany is a total Luann.
Luann, you're right.
Total Luann. She's 100% Luann. You know what? R.I.P. Brittany Murphy, and I definitely like Brittany Murphy more than I like Brittany, but I would not be upset if Brittany became the voice of Luann.
That would be a good Luann voice. And I wouldn't be upset.
And a good attitude too. Like I feel like that's Luann personified. And she definitely ended up with like Buckley. The guy that picked up trampoline over her hairdressing business. Jax is a total Buckley.
No, he's a Hank Hill.
Excuse me?
Mixed with a Dale.
Excuse me? He's total Buckley wannabe Boomhauer. Wait, what is his name?
Boomhauer.
Boomhauer. He's a total Buckley wannabe Boomhauer. Yeah, you know it.
Yeah, I can.
Okay, but back to, and I'm just listing these things that they have said to address the alleged misappropriation of funds.
Mhm.
Now, if you were a smart buyer, a smart home borrower with sufficient funds, because not everybody can afford it, but if you had a mortgage and sufficient funds and were smart about it, you would be paying your monthly rent plus into the principal, right? Every month, a few $100s is going to vastly reduce how much you owe at the end of the day, because you're paying towards the principal, so the interest, you're not paying as much interest, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now, if you're this smart home buyer, if you have two smart home buyers, and you're doing that, you're trying to pay the loan plus the principal additionally just to get ahead. I'm going to assume that this is what they've been doing because it would be the best thing that they could be doing. So I'm just going to assume that's how, and there's going to be a lot of assumptions, but I'm just assuming based on just the average home buyer who has the funds, right? And they probably have people that are advising them financially too, because they make enough money to have a financial advisor. So now, in just hypothetical realm, if you're a very smart but very unscrupulous man, and right, like a very uncaring individual, and you have a lady love that you no longer love, and she's giving you this lump sum to pay the mortgage plus the principal, you're maybe paying the mortgage, but then you're using the funds that should go to the principal to pay your additional loans or pay for any services that you may have on the side. You know, maybe it's part of the home. Maybe your lady love is paying for all the additional home expenses, and then you have more fund money to parade around, to pay your hypothetical band, to pay back your mom, to not take out such a big line of credit because you have that additional principal, and the payment and the monthly payment is made. And if she's not directly going in and seeing what is being done, but in her credit report it shows that the monthly payments for the home are being made, then your lady love maybe doesn't become aware of the misappropriation of funds until very recently, when she realizes that he's bamboozling her in other ways.
Yeah,
You know
I
what I mean?
hate the term lady love. Why are you using that? That's
I just am. That's what it is. Because I'm thinking of like a CAD.
a cat?
A CAD, like CAD.
Oh, I literally don't know what that is. I'm like,
An
okay.
old-timey bad person. An old-timey
Oh,
like
okay. Yeah. I can actually see. Okay, I'm literally picturing like exactly Tom asked that because I think he's dressed like that before or something. Because I see a very vivid picture.
Yeah, he's like
with like a. Yeah, I can like totally see it.
Yeah, with the little mustache too.
Yeah, that's.
I mean, this is just a metaphor of possible ways that the funds could have been misappropriating without her noticing super quickly in this purely hypothetical
not only not noticing, but in a way that he thinks he can justify because it's like it's for the house, but it's like it's not
your money's going
it's
towards
for
the house.
the services you chose to pay, or like even the paying back the mom or the loans or whatever. He could like argue that it is towards the house, even though it's not towards the portion of the house that Ariana has the duty to pay.
Right.
You know?
Right. In my hypothetical scenario, the CAD, the man, would have like possible deniability because the money is going towards house payments, but he has additional funds that he can use to his own interest that are not being used towards this home that you've pretended to build together, right? So
I love that. Yeah.
Right. So that's where I'm like, okay, hypothetically, I can see how the funds could have been misappropriating, because the line of credit isn't a lump sum, because she's giving a lump sum thinking that it's going towards something else, and has stated that funds might have been misappropriating. She also states that she had been overpaying for months. And at this point, she says she was overpaying since they started the line of credit, right? Which was 2021. The affair broke 2023. So she has been overpaying roughly for around 12 to 24 months of overpayment. That's the math. It's loosely based on just what they're saying. And then I guess my final closing point, or my final point before closing, is he states that she's not paying for anything, and that he's not Spectrum or AT&T. So I'm guessing she's not paying for the services. She's saying that she stopped paying after the affair broke, and she realized that the funds have been misappropriating and that she was overpaying. But there's no specificity to what, if all, she stopped paying. She's not giving you a list of all the things she's no longer paying. So I do believe that whatever her lawyer advised, it could be don't pay for services, or don't pay for a mortgage, or don't pay for line of credit, or don't pay for any, or don't pay for a few. There's just a lot of options that it could have been. And they're just following whatever they feel they have to follow under the law. But I do believe, with that said, I do believe that Bravo could have edited. There's a possibility that they could have done a dirty edit to mean that she's not paying for jack shit. Maybe she isn't paying for jack shit.
Maybe she's not paying for jack shit, and it's like, okay, because there are no receipts. And Sandoval said, like, oh, I'm not gonna pay extra for an accountant when I'm telling you, and they can just tell me the same thing I'm telling. It's like, you're gonna have to pay extra because you're untrustworthy, and it is what it is. Like, how is that like a good argument that he's just cheap and doesn't want to pay extra for a professional service to ensure Ariana that you're not again cheating her?
That you're not, that you didn't commit any fraud is what it amounts to.
It's like, why would...
In the answer to Ariana's petition, Sandoval is asking for accounting of all the expenses made and who has paid for what. It is audacious that he's asking for this after he has gone on screen and refused to provide Ariana and her lawyer for such accountings.
Also, that kind of thing, I'm sure he could even like half sit with Ariana, and she'd be like, yeah, because it's a service accounting for both of us to know how much we both owe, and it would still like be convenient for her. He's like making up like it's an extra payment that I'm already paying. It's like, yeah, you have to. Guess what, honey? If you guys were getting a divorce, you would have to pay for a divorce lawyer, because you can't be trusted to just do like a no lawyer, just like get it. You can't be trusted. So you have to pay the fees. Like, what do you want me to tell you?
So I don't believe it's his cheapness, because
no, it's not his cheapness. He's making it like, I don't have the money, but it's like obviously because like they would tell you actually she owes this much.
Well, like I believe
allegedly,
I believe that he may be scared, because if she's saying I'm paying for the home and he's paying for his business, I think that very much could get you into legal issues. And when the business comes into the game, you have other people invested into that business, and it can get like real muddy real fast.
Yeah.
So it's not, I think like legally he's scared of having to pay some kind of like maybe fee or something for something more seriously legal. And I'm like almost scared to like, oh my God, how far could it have gone? But I 100% believe that maybe there's something under waters that he doesn't want finding out, other than how badly he's cheated her with money. I 100% believe it. That said, if he had nothing to hide, I don't know why you couldn't have an assistant just pull up all the receipts over the last years, because you have all of these accounts. You're the one making payments, so you must have all the receipts. These things are uploaded online, and just have the assistant go through all of them, add them up, and just turn over the receipts.
Absolutely.
And you already have an assistant.
Even an accountant, you can pay per hour for that. And like
yeah,
a normal person that doesn't own a bar can afford it. You can afford it. It's like it's gonna be under $1,000, like, to pay an accountant to do a really thorough job. So don't tell me you can't afford that.
Well, like, if it's as straightforward as he's claiming to be, then yeah, the fee for an accountant would be very low. But if it's as straightforward as he claims, he's already paying an assistant. You really don't need to spend extra money, right? I mean, maybe you pay your assistant hourly, but you really just have them like, hey, this is what we're doing today. Just add up all the spectrum fees, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, if it was as straightforward, it would happen. And I just, you know, obviously it's all conjecture on our part at some degree, at a very, very high degree. But these are all these things that I'm like, yeah, there's just a lot of stuff he's saying don't necessarily make a ton of sense, whereas what she's saying makes a lot of sense to me. And in terms of people accusing her for not moving on, and that her mental health would be better if she did move on, just the general public in general, of the comments I've seen. I mean, you can give me some feedback, but I, in the long term, would be way more satisfied and more tranquil with my mental health if at the time that I had fought for my rights and what I deserved, than if I had walked away saying, I don't need this hostility, but then always think back on how badly I was cheated. Because she was already cheated, but to just not give more of herself may actually be better. And I'm not a mental health professional, but the amount of regrets I would feel, in contrast with having fought for what I deserve, I would much rather have the strength mentally, emotionally, to fight for what I'm owed.
Yep. If anything, she's being extremely mentally strong. Like, I really admire her, because it would be so hard for me to live there. It would be hard for me to live there, but necessary if you want to, like, get what's right and, like, get justice.
This is an excerpt of Ariana's petition to partition the home. As stated in item 7, as joint tenants in the property, plaintiff, which is Ariana, is entitled to partition of the property. To me, this strongly implies that had Ariana moved out of the home, she would not be as entitled to make this petition, or at least she would have a much weaker case to have the home partitioned and sold out to a third party. This would also mean that Tom would have a bigger say on what happens to the home if he had been the only one living there for all these months. I will be linking the document in the description.
It's like, it would be so much easier for her to, like, run away and, like, not run away. I understand if someone would want out, but it's like she's, like, putting up the fight, and I think she's being really mentally strong, if anything.
I mean, I think we can both agree that it isn't counterproductive to be fighting for the home. It's not, like, I'm sure it's very difficult mentally, emotionally, but it's not like ruining your mental health to have your eyes fully open and just fight for yourself.
No.
Yeah, and the amount of regrets that I would feel if I just walked away would destroy me. It would, short term, it would help me, but long term it would absolutely sink into like a massive depression. And some people, I do believe that some people do need to walk away in those situations.
Yeah.
I do understand that the hostility would be too much and you have to take care of yourself. But to say that Ariana is somehow hindering her mental health is just, it's just not just, I just don't believe it's true.
As a
I
high
don't
school
believe
graduate, that's like a very bold assumption.
well, not just Lala saying, but like people in the comments saying like, oh, she needs to move on for her mental health.
I know, but
I
not
don't
one
think,
person that's saying
yeah.
that is a psychologist or psychiatrist, not one.
See, I don't know, but I do think that
I guarantee not one. No, Daniela, you think a psychiatrist or a psychologist is going to be in the comments like, she needs to think about her own mental health? Like, absolutely not.
I'm not claiming this as
Well,
like TM mental health,
crazy people.
but I'm saying like there is a realm where what she's doing is not counterintuitive to her mental well-being.
Yeah,
you
but
know,
what I'm saying is like Lala is no one to determine whether it is or it isn't.
yeah, of course. But we didn't need to say that. So obviously, this whole video, this whole thing, this whole explanation has been full of like conjecture and possible allegation and just hypothesis on our part. And yeah, we're using details that they've provided, but they can't really, I can't imagine them being able to provide too many details because the legal proceedings is still taking place, right? It's a legal case, it's open, so you can't really go into detail of how things are being divided, how each party wants it divided. We know that Tom offered to purchase her part, but we know that, well, we know from them that it was significantly lower amount than what the house is worth, and that's from Sandoval's perspective. He's offering less than what the house has appraised for, and Ariana has stated like it was like a miserable amount. We also know that Ariana offered to pay him off or pay his portion, and he probably doesn't want that, not just because he doesn't want to enter an apartment, but also because he would lose that line of credit that's paying for his bar, and also that the money wouldn't be his free and clear. He would have to pay all his debts before he could get his hands of any of the money, and the money would probably just pay for his debts and that's it, right? So that's probably why he doesn't want that to happen. Now Ariana wants to sell it to a third party, which I think is the most reasonable thing you can do. And I think there is the issue of like if he doesn't want to sell, and or I guess the main issue is that she doesn't want to be bought out by him. She wants it to be sold to a third party.
Yeah.
I can see that working out because he doesn't have, or I can't imagine him having proof of being able to pay her off, buying her off. So that might be a big factor of why the judgment will be ruled in Ariana's favor, because he can't come up with the funds to pay for it himself, pay her off himself. So I can see how the judgment would maybe be ruled in her favor, but who knows? Like, we'll see. And yeah, I think I just want to close with saying that in the comments of all these videos, I've seen a lot of women that, and maybe it's men too, but just a lot of internalized misogyny from some of the viewers that want her to get over it. But aside from that, because I don't want to blame the internalized misogyny for everything, aside from that, I think a lot of people are underselling themselves and undervaluing their contributions in their own personal life, because there are a lot of cases out there where even if you weren't married or you were married and you weren't on the title of the home, you know, there's a lot of marriages where one spouse is not on the title of the home, and there's a lot of long-term couples that are just boyfriend, girlfriend, and one of the partners is not on the title of the home. even in those cases, you could have equity in the home, right? If you ever contributed to renovations, if you ever contributed to the mortgage, especially if you contributed directly to the mortgage, maybe you're not owed half the home, but you are eligible for part of the value of the home, especially if the home has appraised. So it really will depend on how long your relationship lasted, how much you contributed towards the home, and how much you can prove that you contributed to the home. So I think it's important for all of us to know our rights and to follow legal advice, which this video is not, but I definitely am advising people to seek their best interest and not settle for less. And that's really just what this video, I wanted this video to be about, because yes, it makes me upset that some people are hating on Ariana, but it mostly makes me upset because we see it with a lot of people in our lives, just in real lives, of people getting screwed out of things that they shouldn't be screwed out of. So
yeah,
there's the unfairness of it all, and people championing that kind of fairness that makes you upset. So yeah, anyway, I think we got a lot off our chest, and I'm happier for it. Every time I was thinking about this house and not addressing certain points, it was giving me anxiety.
Yeah, and I feel good that there's one more rational, even kiln pro Ariana take out there with this.
we did good in this world today. Cheers to that.
Today we represented our president well. President Ariana.
Yeah, and I mean, some people may disagree, but I think we were very unbiased.
As a human can be in this situation.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
There is a warm blood streaming through our veins. Like, we cannot be less biased.
We're living, breathing beings. Stop asking the world of us. We've done enough.
God damn it. Just kidding.
All right, we're on the rails. Like, to say goodnight.
Good night.
Like,
subscribe. It's like I have to pay for accounting to like send every like detailed receipt. It's like, yo, like, what do you think? I have like a side deal with Spectrum or like with AT&T? Like, no, I don't. It's annoying. I feel like she's just trying to be difficult, but